Now, if you remember when I started talking to you at the beginning, I said that there was originally the papier-mâché poupée, and it would have the proportions of a lady face. And then came the Adelaide Haré period, where she introduced the concept of the fashion doll as a child, the mode enfantine. Starting about 1867, 1868, and going on through the 1870s, the poupée once again became a lady. And I put two here to show you the comparison so you can look for this. And this is, again, a way of kind of dating your dolls, of determining what period they're from. On this side, we have the younger child, the mode enfantine, and this would be about 1865 period. And look at her face, rounded, chubby, her body chubbier, much more of a childlike presentation. Standing next to her, we have the lady, slender face, slender body, costume designed to be fitted as though she's a fashionable lady walking the boulevard. Once you can embed those kind of characteristics of shape and into your head, then you can really start to date your fashion dolls, and you can determine what you like. Some people really concentrate only on the mode enfantine period. That's because they like the costumes, they like the child costumes, they love that whole era. And other people like that opulent 1870s, where things were going along and they were really dressing women in very, very high fashion, and we'll see some of those. But I wanted these two for you as an example. I'll move to another pair that will give you a further example of the changing times. We have seated on the chair a lovely doll, and I wanted to show you this because, again, of the body. There's so many. You could make a study forever in bodies of these fashion dolls, because I remember once there was a wonderful collector in Connecticut, about 35, 40 years ago. We sold her collection. It was the first beautiful fashion collection I ever sold. Her name was Fanchon Canfield. And we walk into her doll room, and all of her dolls were naked, her fashion dolls. They were all beautifully displayed naked. And I said, oh. And she said, well, because I bought them for the rare bodies, and I wanted to display the bodies, and I have their costumes next to them. And that's always stayed in my mind. And I thought, what a wonderful study, because the makers who were doing this at the time, they were as consumed with the bodies as they were with the doll itself. I had some figures here, let me see, about the number of patents that were done. Between 1850 and 1880, there were 44 doll patents that were registered in France. Now that might not seem like a lot to you, but prior to that time, there might be 5 a year, there might be 3, there might be a few here and there, but all of a sudden, 44 doll patents. And do you want to know that 90% of them were concerned with what? The body, not the face, the body. I know as collectors, you walk in and you look at a doll, and the first thing you look at is the face, no question. But the people who were making these dolls at the time were concerned with the body, and that's a great focus if you want to concentrate on doing the poupée era, to try to find dolls with very, very distinct and rare bodies. And finding them when they have the bisque hands and the bisque bare feet is absolutely wonderful. Not to mention, she has an absolutely beautiful face with the swivel head, okay? And also, please look, tilting, tilting, and tilting forward. And that is completely different than this girl. Well, she's got the tilt on her too, okay? I'll find you one that doesn't, because most of them simply do the swivel. And then along came designs. Romer did a design, and then later Alexandre Dehors in 1867 did a patent also, in which the head was allowed to have much more realistic motions, tilting, flirtatiously bowing a head forward, that type of thing. And these are features you want to look for in a doll if that's important to you, because it's a really good one. Another patent, right here I'm going to show you. I'm going to reach back and get her because I already showed her to you. But this particular doll is really wonderful because I'm going to pivot her head. Oh, that's as far as it will go. And then I'll go the other way. Oh, that's as far as it will go. Unlike this doll, for example, or any of these other dolls, they could do that, 360-degree swivel all the way around. But one of the doll makers, actually went to the trouble of making a patent to make a doll only do what our human heads do, turn side to side. And these were all quite intriguing. And again, remember, Industrial Revolution. These were all things that were incorporating new techniques that had come out from the kind of machinery that could be built to create this type of body. It wasn't the heads, it was the bodies they really cared about. So we have this level. But now, this doll, one of my favorite dolls, because to me she tells so much of doll history. And this is Lily. Lily is from the boutique of Madame Lavallée-Perron, called À la Poupée de Nuremberg. And Madame Lavallée-Perron was an extraordinary woman. When you look at doll shops today, and you think about Barbie, for example, when Barbie is being sold, just bringing it down to pure business sense, the money's not in the doll for the seller. The money is in the costumes, the accessories, the ephemera that go with it. That's what Madame Lavallée-Perron did 150 years ago with her Lily. She had her doll shop, À la Poupée de Nuremberg, and she would write stories about Lily. If you are familiar with the publication La Poupée Modèle, she was very involved with La Poupée Modèle. She may have been one of the owners, or she may have been very involved with them. But here were the kind of paper dolls that would come out of La Poupée Modèle. She would write stories for La Poupée Modèle about Lily, her shop, and the wonderful things. And, oh, Lily just has a new dress, or she has a new accessory, or whatever. And when you want to talk about accessories, you have no idea how many accessories were available for a French doll at that time period. Everything from the lorgnette to a pair of slippers to a shawl to a little hairpin for their hat. Anything you can think of that was being made for the fashionable ladies at the time was also being made for their miniature dolls. And this was so important. And Madame Lavallée-Perron with her Lily doll for À la Poupée de Nuremberg, she perfected that to the highest degree. This is a treasure of a doll when you're ever able to find it. So I talked to you a bit about the doll bodies, and I just wanted to show you they were made out of so many materials and so many techniques and so many possibilities of jointing. But I have 4 that I'm showing you that are in this upcoming auction that we're leaving naked for the auction, because I think that their bodies are so fabulous that they're absolutely works of art in themselves. And you can see some of the variation in them. I'm holding one of the early bodies that was designed, and so many of these, there are patent drawings available, and you can spend time trying to actually, determine who the patent holder might have been of your doll. Let me turn it around, but look at how artistic they were involved with the carving of the doll bodies. They just really wanted to have such great detail, and they designed them to accommodate to the fashions of that time period. So within a 2 or 3 year period, you would want to have a doll that might be more slender, or that might have a big butt. Excuse me, as that ties into the title of the auction. Never mind, you can laugh if you want. But I didn't mean it that way. It had wonderful shaping of the back of their calves. Really just great all the way around. Wonderful details of these. And this is one. I wanted to show you in particular, Leon Casimir Bru did his very distinctive wooden body, and distinctive because it's based upon the wooden mannequin body that had been used in Europe for well over a century. We can find it in old manufacturers' catalogs going back into the 1700s of this very, very distinctive wooden body. I'm not talking about the head now. The heads on the mannequins were just very simple carved wooden cone type, ball type of things with carved out features a little bit, but not highly defined. But the body itself is almost exactly like the early mannequin formed wooden bodies that he did. And I'm going to turn this around so you can see the detail, for example, on the ankles. Look at how the legs are beautifully formed. Now, when Bru came up with this doll, he had a great idea. that he wanted to have different possibilities of luxury so it might appeal to different buyers. So over the years, his body, and we have two examples of them here, so you can see this is made with the earlier Brew face, and this is made with the very famous deposed smiling Brew face. And when he made this, here's what could happen. You might be able to get the kid leather body with the wooden arms. You might be able to get the all wooden body, and you might get extra degrees of articulation on it as well, or simpler. So there are various things that could be done. Sometimes at the very beginning he had this basic style of body, but it didn't have all of the refinement, like see how the refinement of the carving at the back and the wooden dowels going in and all of these details. Sometimes it was really almost crude in a way, and it was obviously meant to appeal to a different price point. Very, very wonderful dolls they are. Very distinctive for the ball swivel waist, which is what you find on the mannequin, on the early mannequins. So very, very wonderful, and very distinctive for his collarette, the square. If you ever see my description of the square-shaped collarette, that's what it's referring to right here. It's not, the kid is not rounded, but it's cut in square angles. Very distinctive on Brew, and it's a good thing to look for on the Brew kid bodies as well, because it helps to identify it as being a Brew body, the square cut collarette. And then we have another example over here of another beautiful wooden bodied doll, and different types of jointing and all that are done. Very, very wonderful. And please notice on this one, we have, I hope the camera can pick it up, right here, and then on her upper arm, you see that very, very thin line. What that actually is a swivel. And it was an extra deluxe feature of the doll so that you not only could move the elbow and the shoulder, but you could pivot the upper arm or pivot the upper leg to have a whatever more realistic posing that you wanted to have. These were not cheap to do. These were expensive. Every one of these little features required extra detail and extra work and extra expense. So when you're evaluating your dolls, you got to look for all of those kind of special little points. And then one other body I forgot to bring down, I wanted to show you, because when we come into the period of Pierre-François Jumeau creating his own porcelain firm in 1867, then this is the kind of doll that he was able to produce, this extraordinary portrait face on the doll, and then evolving into the kid body. And again, if you see what he did here, he wanted to produce something within a price point that a store was looking for. So rather than have a completely wooden body, he would have the kid body, very, very beautifully shaped. I mean, just wonderful detailing of it. And he would have the wooden arms that were articulated at the shoulders, at the elbows, and at the wrists. One of the things you want to look for in wooden bodies too is look at the wooden body on the Brew. It has the articulation of the ankles. So that allowed for, different posing of the foot at various times, whereas this example does not have the posing of the ankles. So all of these kind of things are things to look for, and I will tell you, I know you're going to look at these, and the first thing you're going to look at are the faces, and every one of you right now, I'm going to hold them up. You can all make your vote. Which face do you like the best? But I'm asking you to try to pay attention to the bodies as well, and look for all of the things that work to make a doll really, really special as an entity, because that's what the makers were doing at the time.